I would have never in a billion years, like, if you had told past me.
This sounds like something that people would laugh at in a comment section. Therefore, I would never have believed it in a million years. I would have replied, "You're doing too much." If you had told me that a women's basketball player would be surpassing the biggest active NBA stars in a significant international sports market, that one of the biggest NBA stars would be cleaning the floor with a female basketball player, I never would have thought. However, those who continue to hope that the Caitlin Clark effect would subside will not be pleased with what happens next. In actuality, this isn't cooling down. It's constructing. It's getting worse. Additionally, Caitlin isn't simply well-liked at the moment if you look at the most recent figures and how investors interpret them.
That a female basketball player would be wiping the floor with the biggest stars in the NBA, I would have never believed.
Companies are planning around her as she develops into a long-term business engine. Since this news is abnormal and explains why Caitlin can control conversations even when she isn't playing, let's talk about what just transpired. This has nothing to do with the WNBA schedule. Yes, without a doubt. Additionally, it's clear that I'm fussy about what I wear. For example, I have a preference for 2 Kobe models. This has nothing to do with a single highlight video becoming viral. This has to do with cultural pull, the type that appears in locations that are impossible to replicate. This is what caused it. PSA, the organization that rates trading cards and thus establishes the benchmark for collectibles, published its figures for 2025. Furthermore, Caitlin Clark emerged as the world's most accumulated active basketball player, not in women's or WNBA basketball, mind you. The stats you're seeing indicate that she defeated LeBron James.
Man, I wish these things grabbed better. I wish they had a different mold on the bottom of them. Like, were you super involved in that process as well?
That's what distinguishes a transient phenomena from a long-lasting one. The instant the person is out of sight, the passionate moment dissipates. A persistent phenomenon that keeps moving even when they are not on screen. Like the second narrative, Caitlin's is compelling. Therefore, it's not just fan talk when people claim that 2026 will be her year. It's also money talk, corporate talk, and market discussion. Because until several groups are wagering that the next wave is imminent, you don't get CEOs purchasing shares, a worldwide brand developing signature technology, and the collectibles business being inundated with your cards. That's what many folks overlook. Markets don't move just on sentiments, even though fans can fight endlessly in comments. It's hardly coincidental when high-level executives invest actual funds in a business, while that business is obviously growing around a single athlete. People that have access to projections, research, and internal confidence signals are taking positions before the public narrative fully catches up. Furthermore, there is more than one line of evidence. There are several lanes shooting simultaneously. Because collectors don't evaluate cards for pleasure, the trading card market is one type of signal. They act in this way because they think demand will continue. Corporate investments are another indicator, as executives don't make such large purchases unless they think the situation is improving. And product strategy is a signal in and of itself, since companies don't develop signature technology for athletes they intend to handle like a moment in time. That all points in the same direction. The following wave is starting to take shape. It doesn't matter whether attention comes back. It's the size at which the machine becomes fully operational once more. And if you've been keeping an eye on things, you already know what the next wave will look like. Larger crowds in larger structures. Additional games are pushed into prime TV times. More nationwide programming that networks won't take the chance of missing. More sponsorship agreements linked to specific events, like as the release of a signature shoe or a return game. Whether she requests it or not, more cameras, microphones, and people are attempting to include her in every storyline. Additionally, that implies more opponents turning every game into a personal statement, more pressure, more scrutiny, more critics attempting to find flaws in everything, and more expectations that she must live up to every night. Because the crowd demands the entertainment once they become accustomed to it. And Caitlin has already shown that she can bear the spotlight without shrinking, which is why this continues getting better. When the arena gets noisy, she doesn't fold. When things go tough, she doesn't go away. She has demonstrated that she can continue to produce even as the volume increases. Brands and broadcasters feel comfortable attaching themselves to her because of this. They predicted that it would stop, but it didn't. They predicted that she would lose momentum if she missed time, but it didn't. They said that the hype was brittle, but it wasn't. The impact of Caitlin Clark is still present. It's not even close to being over, and since the entire business side is already getting ready for it ahead of time, the next wave will hit harder.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously I'm pretty picky about what I wear. I like a certain Tube Kobe model.
Let's now discuss what occurs when, in fact, Caitlin retreats from the court once more. Because this is the point of intersection between the business and sports media sectors. People continue to pretend that the league's expansion is this evenly spread, balanced phenomenon. However, that is not supported by the ratings history. The numbers increase when Caitlin plays. The statistics are cool when she doesn't. This does not imply that other players are unimportant. It indicates that star power is acting as it always does. Allow me to describe what transpired in May of 2025. It was a preseason exhibition against a Brazilian national team, not a playoff game or a finals match. Rather, it was Caitlin's first game in 6 months. Additionally, Carver Hawkeye Arena sold out in a matter of minutes because that's what her presence accomplishes. It generates a sense of urgency. ESPN chose to broadcast it nationwide because it received so much attention and about 1.3 million people watched. Preseason exhibition once more. That figure is abnormal. It's not pleasant. It's a billboard announcing that her audience is not confined to the conventional bubble. Now contrast that with the WNBA finals, which typically draw 1.5 million viewers. You begin to understand why Caitlin games are considered must-carry content by networks. Indeed, the methodology used to assess ratings has evolved to include additional streaming devices, making comparisons more difficult. However, despite the measuring limitations, the direction is evident. Caitlin games draw big crowds. What will happen in 2026 when she makes a comeback after a complete off-season of hype? The Nike shoe tale is intensifying, and the injury return storyline is piled on top. It will be enormous. And acting otherwise is merely disregarding the behavior of sports fans. Under the previous technique, 2.7 million people watched her opening game of the 2025 season, Against the Sky. It's not absurd to believe that her comeback game might be one of the biggest regular season women's basketball broadcasts ever given the more recent measuring system, the increased number of national TV windows, and the marketing machine's relentless efforts. Right now, I'll make a prediction. 5 million people watch her return game. This is precisely the kind of moment that defies expectations, so if you believe it's too high, let me know if you're picking the over or the under. Networks won't take the chance of overlooking those figures. That kind of reach will not be disregarded by sponsors. Furthermore, when the first game's backstory is widely available, casual fans won't ignore it. The true point here is that Caitlin is more than just an excellent athlete. She has a viewing appointment. You have to witness her live energy. People who don't watch the NBA suddenly know arena names and tip-off times because of her. Additionally, when you compare that to the trading card data, it presents an image larger than a basketball. Dominance of collectibles when hurt. Verify. First place. Most amassed active basketball player. Verify. Major CEOs purchase Nike stock. Verify. The CEO of Nike is placing a large wager. Verify. According to reports, a signature shoe featuring cutting-edge technology was created around her. Verify. You're not witnessing a typical sports star arc when all of that is taking place simultaneously. You are witnessing a cultural icon whose impact simultaneously penetrates several marketplaces. People frequently claim that she can succeed without the WNBA because of this. The league is not being disrespected. It's acknowledgement that her brand has grown to the point where it can attract attention outside of the scheduled games. Does this imply that the WNBA is irrelevant now? No. The league continues to be the focal point, the setting for the creation of legacies, and the home of championships. However, this indicates that Caitlin's audience is not only basketball purists. It is more expansive. It's widely accepted. Sponsors treat her more as a centerpiece than a lovely addition because of this. Let's face it, Those who insisted that her momentum would vanish in the event of an injury were mistaken. The number of collectibles did not decline. The conversation continued. The excitement persisted. If anything, it hardened because when the viewer is already engaged, absence breeds suspense.
So like I knew whatever I was going to put in my own shoe, it needed to be like the equivalent of that technology or even better. And it's going to be even better. I'm not going to say exactly what it is.
The man with the rings, the MVPs, the all-time scoring headlines, and the face of the NBA for 20 years. This market isn't built only on hype, so that's the kind of thing that makes people sit up straight. Here, real money is spent. They submit cards, pay grading costs, wait for processing, and then, based on demand, either hold or flip the value. When someone rises to the top of that sphere, collectors aren't merely observing. They're investing their own money and placing bets on how long she will be relevant. Furthermore, PSA didn't simply provide a list of the top 10 and call it a day. A map displaying the top-ranked active athletes by state was made public. Additionally, the basketball category is fantastic. It's not even close to how it's being presented. The majority of the United States is essentially Clark country. More people than anyone else are submitting Caitlin Clark cards for grading. Furthermore, that is not an opinion nor a vibe. That's how people behave. When you examine the detail hidden behind the larger headline, it becomes even more bizarre. According to PSA's research, Caitlin received 3 of the top 10 grades in all sports, not just basketball, in 2025. That is significant since it indicates that she is competing against players outside of the NBA. She continues to remain at the top of the pile despite being stacked against athletes in every major sport who have decades of ingrained collector culture. Add the timeline now, and it begins to look even more surreal. According to reports, Caitlin was the 6th most collected basketball player in 2024. She jumps to the top spot in 2025 despite losing a lot of time. This is what momentum really means if you're attempting to grasp it. Even though she wasn't on the court, the attention didn't stop. Because the machine surrounding her isn't only made for games, it continued to move. It is based on identity. According to reports, Ryan Hogue, president of PSA, stated that only the best athletes typically exhibit this level of hobby enthusiasm. The fact that trading cards don't reward good storytelling makes that a significant claim. They incentivize demand. When collectors pursue someone with such vigor, it's because they think the narrative will continue to develop, not shrink. Because of this, the most influential individuals in the business world are beginning to align themselves with what will happen in 2026. This doesn't seem to be a trend anymore, so it's not because they're fans or because they're reading signals. It appears to be the beginning of a new era. This is where Nike joins the conversation, because this is the section that links corporate funds to the excitement around collectibles. Nike has been under a lot of pressure, and the public's perception of the company has been negative. People have been complaining that the brand appears lethargic, that innovation has stagnated, and that younger businesses have been gaining market share and attention. Whether you agree with that or not, what matters is that the perception got loud. The Caitlin Clark signature shoe incident subsequently became a mini-storm unto itself. In 2025, fans requested her shoe, but it never materialized. Aya Wilson received her signature shoe first, and, to be clear, she is an all-time artist who truly deserved it. However, supporters continued to pose a different query. The biggest attraction in women's basketball is obviously the one that people are begging to purchase, so why isn't she receiving her signature product? Nike may place the responsibility on internal calendars, rollout plans, production schedules, or any of the standard business justifications. However, none of that mattered on the internet. People perceived it as Nike stumbling, going too slowly, or failing to comprehend what the market was actually yelling at them.
Time.
However, money folks were moving as supporters were fighting. According to reports, Apple CEO Tim Cook purchased 50,000 shares of Nike stock on December 22, 2025. Let's be honest now. Tim Cook doesn't have to take risks. At that level, a person can securely store money indefinitely and yet have everything they need. Therefore, it is a statement of confidence that things is changing when someone like that invests in a business that has been under public scrutiny. After that, you receive another signal that is considerably more forceful. Near the end of 2025, Elliott Hill, the CEO of Nike, reportedly purchased almost $1 million worth of Nike stock. It's not a lighthearted flex. That isn't assistance. That wager is made with actual money. CEOs don't make such purchases unless they think the upcoming chapter will be different from the previous one. Because this is the straightforward reasoning. You don't stockpile if you're aware that your business is on the decline. You defend yourself. You hold off. You reduce danger. Therefore, if the CEO is purchasing, it indicates that he thinks the recovery tale is more than simply marketing gossip. He thinks there will be a change in the statistics. Hill allegedly disclosed during a business call that Nike's North American business increased by 9% to $5.63 billion in the most recent fiscal quarter. After a period of bad news, a 9% increase is not insignificant. It implies a change in momentum. What Nike is utilizing as rocket fuel is the crucial question that arises. This is where Caitlin's name keeps showing up because Nike is focusing on her in a way that seems more deliberate and loud every month. The positioning, the celebrity-heavy rollout, the Christmas commercial, and the phrase "from anywhere." Nike is not being lighthearted here. Nike is attempting to link her to a long history of athletes who changed culture in addition to selling shoes. Then, on December 31st, Caitlin appears on the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelce and says something that instantly excited investors and sneakerheads. She claims that Caitlin will have access to new technology. And that's the type of sentence that quickly becomes a headline. Since Nike is developing, they're not treating her like a side project because of the new technology behind her signature line. She is being treated like a pillar by them. Although the precise date of the shoe drop is yet unknown, it is anticipated to occur in 2026. The runway is being stacked by Nike. They are constructing the narrative. They are preparing the scene. As a result, the product's launch feels more like an occasion than a mere release. These CEO stock acquisitions are significant in our discussion because of this. Tim Cook isn't placing a wager on Caitlin. Nike has a catalyst, according to high-level money. Additionally, it appears that one of the most significant catalysts Nike can now rely on in women's basketball is Caitlin's signature launch.